in the sky. I need you to listen, I need you to hear, and don't show any fear. I've been flying from town to town, from London to Taiwan. I've been all around the globe trying to protect your soul. We are heroes tonight. We will fly above the sky. We are heroes tonight. Yeah. We are heroes tonight. We will fly above the sky. We are heroes tonight. Town to town, from London to Taiwan. I've been all around the globe trying to protect your soul.
Hello everybody and welcome into Tuesday Night Thunder Season 4, Race 9, and we are back at the World Center of Racing, Daytona International Speedway. Good to be back tonight, and joining as always, actually carrying ship for the last couple weeks, Dawson Wise. Dawson, tonight we're starting to close in on the end of the regular season, and still a points battle between Matthew Baker and Garrett Maines. We'll talk more about that in just a minute, but first off, how you doing and how you looking forward to the action here tonight?
I'm doing well, Austin. Glad you're back, first of all. It's been a fun few weeks. Obviously, the Atlanta stop a couple weeks ago as well was really cool. Closing down to it. It's going to be a tight points battle at the top and at the cut line. Can't wait to talk about points a little later on in the night.
Absolutely. Well, drivers just finishing up qualifying. You'll see them start to get gridded up here in just a moment. But, you know, besides the points battle, of course, here tonight, you know, we know that you kind of get the regulars, a couple new guys mixed in here and there. But how about the size of the field? Looking over 30 cars, 33 to be exact. A couple teams that maybe we don't see that much. We'll get all into them as well. And the best way to get things rolling here tonight is going to be to get into your starting grid. So let's start with that. Taking on the pole here tonight, it's going to be Garrett Maines. puts down a 50.470. Rolling off on his outside is going to be, it says PGR eSports owner, but NBG Motorsports driver, and that is Michael Triscaro in the 34. Jeff Merck starts in third with Ken McCullough Jr. to his outside in fourth. Matt Lee back in fifth. New team for him as well, Dawson Nightmare Esports. Andrew Navarro back in sixth. John Mullahan seventh with Matthew Baker in eighth. Trevor Oswanoth in ninth, and Jason Maines rounding out your top 10.
11th to be Nash Brambilla for Team PGR. To his outside, his teammate J.R. Miller, a winner this season. He'll start 12th. Row number 7, Zach Raines, the 043. And Tony Cox in the 72. Having a nice season. He's just outside the playoff battle. Row 8, David Sheets from McCullough Motorsports. And Dustin Carruthers for KSR makes an appearance tonight. Team PGR's Mike Davenport, the defending Little Guys Series champ. He'll start 17th with Mark Math to his outside in 18th. Row 10, rounding out the top 20, Mark Mondell from McCullough Motorsports. And Jared Haynes in the 7.
Jared Haynes, by the way, another nice addition to see right now, just above the cut line. Still fighting to see if he can make it in. Actually, I believe I should say hanging around the cut line. Forgot if it was just above or just below. Point is, he's put together a great season so far and looking to cap it off with a playoff berth. William Schwindenhammer, another driver who's done fairly well this season for one of the rookies. He will roll off 21st. Sean Corbett back in 22nd. And then a new driver, Dawson. You said he's new to the sim. Well, he's getting into money racing early. It's Mitch Regattas. He will start 23rd. Kenneth Stamper for KSR back in 24th. Dylan Jones 25th with John Ward, the Hyper Motorsports captain, in 26th. Moving on back to row 14, it's going to be Logan York in 27th with Joshua McCullough, another driver that makes a couple rare appearances here in Tuesday Night Thunder. He will roll off 28th. Justin Mills 29th. Rock Westmoreland for PGR eSports in 30th.
Last 3 cars on the field tonight. Chris McCullough from McCullough Motorsports. Tucker McClendon in the 27. He'll start 32nd. Joey Galati in the 14. He'll roll the final starting spot tonight. 33 cars. A big field tonight at Daytona.
Big field indeed. Here's what the race info breakdown is looking like. Again, 9 races into the season at this point. We've been with the Xfinity Series since the start, and we're sticking with them the rest of the way through. 60 laps to scheduled distance here around Daytona. Everybody does have 40% fuel, unlimited tires, no fast repair here tonight. Fixed setups as always, and there will be that stage break at lap 30 in which there will be points, and I believe there will also be a bonus on the line, so guys going to be racing extra hard for that. Weather outside here at the World Center of Racing, 78 degrees, 45% humidity, overcast skies, and a little windy out there today, 12 miles an hour to go along with the overcast conditions. So we'll see. That wind, I believe they were saying, is not quite a tailwind down the back, but going to be blowing diagonal. So we'll see how that affects the speeds and the handling, especially going into turn 3 and working through turn number 4. Daytona International Speedway, 2.5 miles in length, 78 degrees is going to be the starting track temp. Should stay cool throughout the entirety of the race. Well over 30 degrees of banking. A little bit more narrow, though, than what we see at Talladega. So these guys, they're going to still have a little bit of their hands full with handling tonight. Dawson with that win, but it's going to be a good one. Big field, going to be a lot of action.
Absolutely. A bigger field always means more action. And look, these cars have been putting on a heck of a show the last few weeks. Pair that with the World Center of Racing under the lights. I can't wait. It's going to be a really exciting one.
All right, here we go. Everybody warming their tires here. Navarro getting ready to go. Matthew Baker, a newer paint scheme. That's a good looking one, too, for the 5 machine. And real quick here, Dawson, set the stage for the viewers just before we get going. The big battle tonight is between 2 of the guys in the top 5, Garrett Maines and Matthew Baker.
Yeah, Garrett is hot on the heels of Matthew Baker after the Atlanta race a couple weeks back. Looking to get that regular season championship. It's going to be a tight one.
All right, here we go. Pace car rolls off into the Geico restart zone. Green flag in the air. We're racing at Daytona.
Tell you what, Michael Triscaro did not get a great start. Already blocking up top was Garrett Maines. Chef Merck Matt Lee said, I'll take that real estate. Garrett, that was awfully aggressive. He knows what's at stake tonight with the 5-4 rows back of him. Merck Lee, too quick for that, though. Merck will go to the outside. He will lead. And last time we were here in these cars, he couldn't quite make it to the checkered. He ran out of gas, hoping for a little bit better fate tonight. And as lap 1 is in the books, it's not the pole sitter that leads. Instead, the Blue Angel Chevrolet of Jeff Merck.
Yeah, and he's got a teammate not too far back. Actually, a couple of them there. Michael Troscaro, Matthew Baker. Matthew Lethal, on the other hand, maybe not a direct teammate, but those two have had some chemistry before working together as they roll off turn number 2 down the Daytona super stretch. 2 laps complete, 60 to go, or excuse me, 58 to go. But, looking at the fuel window, Dawson, these guys can't make it all the way to that first stage. So, you kind of have a decision as a driver. Do you stay aggressive? Do you be conservative? Either way, you got to try to get that track position as we do get closer to the stage, and you got to set yourself up for that first pit stop. Still side by side, though, off of turn number 4. Mullahan with a little bit of a wiggle. That's going to spook the outside line up. About 5 cars deep. They all move up just a little bit. Drop back down across the line. Side by side out of the tri-oval.
Well, you can kind of tell where the aggression lies. Andrew Navarro, look at him go up to the safer barrier, but no help, no dice up there. He's going to be stuck. Now Matthew Baker goes with him, and all of a sudden we're going to be 3 wide. Only 1 row deep, going to be 2 rows deep, with several guys just like Navarro, just like Baker, just like Dustin Carruthers. You can tell they're the guys that want to come forward. Matt Lee jumps out as well. Jason Maines is coming to the front, and all of a sudden, as soon as you said maybe we want to be a little conservative, not up front. Here comes Matt Lee in the 04, not content to ride third.
Well, sometimes the safest place to be is at the front of the field, and if you're 2x2, the only way to get there if you're not in front is going to be to take the 3rd lane. So they've got to roll a little bit. That cooler track temp, these overcast conditions, going to have to see a lot of pushing to really get that 3rd lane to roll. Garrett's going to do a good job of managing. He'll stay in the middle for now with a push from Jeff Merck. Doesn't want to let Lee get clear. Yeah, he's going to be able to hold him off there into turn 1. So the 1 will now start to surge in the middle as John Mullahan will poke a nose out to the lead on the bottom. Can he get clear? Not quite, but he still leads off turn 2.
Oh, man, big moment there. Jeff Merck, Navarro, and Lee came together on the exit of turn number 2 and scattered the field, but everybody gets it back together. It's going to allow those first 2 cars up top side to roll. Matt Lee to the point, headed for turn number 3. He and Navarro will get clear of Garrett Maines. Man, Garrett short end of the stick right there as Merck and Troscaro were held up in the middle. He lost a lot of his help, and as such, he's now going to be resorted to 3rd in line. Let's see if anybody decides to go back in the front. It will. Michael Troscaro, the 34 for Team PGR. He's up the outside now. He wants to go forward. Man, John Mullahan says, I'll take this. Thank you very much. All the real estate just opened for him there on the bottom.
And I think Michael Troscaro maybe misjudged it just ever so slightly. Not that he was late on the block, but I think he was a little bit late on what the run was going to be. Nonetheless, Jason Maines stays committed with him. Matthew Baker, though, the guy that he's working with tonight, he's going to duck to the inside, running for his own chance at a championship. So he's not going to be able to stick with his newer teammate, Michael Troscaro. Jason and Michael now got to fade a little bit down the super stretch. But as they stay 3 wide towards the middle, 2x2 up front, Navarro on the outside, Lee on the inside, and it's Mullahan and Maines as the lead pushers.
Yeah, all 4, and what I'm noticing, at least early in this race, is that wind, that, as I was told, is blowing down towards turn number 1. It's becoming a crosswind on the exit of turn number 4. He's got in trouble. Matt Lee to the outside retaining wall. They're gonna wreck him up at the front. Navarro, Troscaro, Garrett Maines, John Mullahan, and others. And very early into this one, we're going to see some Knights end, and Sean Corbett comes to a stop as well.
That is not what a lot of these guys wanted to see. Trouble early in a big way, too. I'm looking down here towards turn 1, and we have got some torn-up race cars. Andrew Navarro, one of the cars that I saw get the worst of it towards the back. But, I mean, you look at the 27, Tucker McClendon, he's torn up as well. Ken McCullough Jr. gets rolling. That may have been a big break for him. Couldn't tell if he got any damage in this wreck or not. But that was certainly, again, Dawson, just a byproduct of that aggression that we saw early, and might work out for some guys, but it is really going to hurt chance at any extra points here tonight for others. So before we talk about that situation, let's go back and look at kind of the breakdown of what led to this first caution here of the night. So here we go. Going to go to the blimp cam first, and it's just really a case of aggressive pushing. At Talladega, we see a lot of it. Here at Daytona, more of the same. And, if you're in the trucks, Dawson, this is never even an issue. But here in the Xfinity cars, we talk about it every week. You got to be a little bit more careful, a little bit more delicate with the pushes, especially in areas where the car tends to kind of unload or is just unstable in general, the tri-oval being one of those spots. And here we go. As we play it for you, John Mullahan, he's aggressive on the back bumper of Lee in the tri-oval, gets him a little offset. And then when he swipes back across, that gets Matt Lee's car even more upset at this point. Lee's doing everything he can just to try to save it, but Mullahan's still beating up the back bumper, and eventually, just too much, the 04 gets hooked back to the right, and wow, I see about 4 cars, including Garrett Maines, one of the guys who we talked about right in that championship battle, getting torn up in that wreck with, looks like Mullahan, Lee, and a couple others getting the worst of that one.
Yeah, and it's just it's the difference between the truck and this car. The truck is so much more forgiving on pushes like that. You can almost get away with it. These cars, though, not as much grip. They're a little bit heavier, a little bit clunkier. They don't like to stick to the ground as much. They're a little bit further up off the racetrack, so it's a lot easier to get the guy in front of you out of shape, and that's what happens. Again, nothing egregious, I would say, by John Mullahan there. It's just he got a little aggressive. He saw the top line coming, tried to keep their line moving, and when you try to do that, unfortunately, that can be the result. And man, I mean, for guys like Andrew Navarro, I mean, that's major for him, a guy who's not won yet this season. Same with John Mullahan, and the most notable, Garrett Maines. I mean, he was chasing Matthew Baker in the points. He's going to have to try to fix that car. A bad setback to his night early.
We're looking at a couple more angles of it. We're going to get an onboard view from at least John Mullahan. I mean, like I said, there's nothing Matt Lee can do. There's nothing he was doing wrong, just leading the bottom and just gets hooked at the end of it. John Mullahan, talked about, came such a long way in the money racing scene and all that he's accomplished, and it's just a mistake that can happen to anyone, veterans, rookies, all alike. And nothing, as you said, that Mullahan was doing maliciously, just pushing aggressive, going forward, and maybe looks back there and says if he's got another chance at it, maybe he backs down the aggression a little bit at this point in the race. But when you're going forward, and sometimes we see that aggression really be kind of the payoff. And here we go. This is the onboard view for John Mullahan. They get into the travel right there. It's almost, I'll tell you what, Dawson, from that look there on the cockpit view, and I want to actually go to the chopper view for this, it almost looks like Mullahan himself gets a little bit unsteady getting into the travel, and that's what kind of gets him to that offset push on the back bumper of Lee. Yeah, that's exactly what happens, and it's when he almost gets below the apron and then swipes back up that he actually gets Lee a little out of shape, and then it just kind of snowballs from there. Navarro, man, I thought for sure he'd be able to sneak around this too, being on the outside as 04 lost momentum, but just not the case. You saw the rear bumper there for Garrett Maines pop off. So while a lot of guys were involved in this, there was also a lot of them that I'll tell you what did a pretty good job of missing it. As we take one more view here for the turn one entry, this really showing you kind of the magnitude of the wreck and the guys that it collected, about a handful, maybe a couple more in total, with just about 3 or 4 of them really getting, I don't know if we'll call it race-ending damage, but certainly winning speed race-ending damage. And with that, we go back live up front, where it is now. KSR's Trevor Oswinoff leading the way here at Daytona, up 8 positions from where he started. Jeff Merck back in second. J.R. Miller in third with Dustin Carruthers. Driver making a rare appearance here in Tuesday Night Thunder, but he's out tonight, running fourth, up 12 from where he started. Matthew Baker back in fifth. John Ward sixth, up 20 from where he started. David Sheets seventh. Mark Mathen 8th, Dylan Jones 9th, and Logan York, Blind Squirrel Racing, rounding out your top 10.
Yeah, interesting race shuffle here. First off, Jeff Merck, very lucky to get through that incident. It was right in front of him, and he actually dove it all the way, almost halfway down the apron to get past it. I'm not sure how he made that work, but he's able to stay at the front. But it reshuffles the field, and I'll tell you, a welcome sight for Matthew Baker for that early tough luck for Garrett Maines, because now he can kind of breathe a little bit, at least until Garrett gets back on track. He can take a bit of a sigh of relief and know that he's going to, at least for now, maintain his point standings on Garrett. But it's going to reshuffle the field. We'll have to wait and see if the one is able to get back on track. He is back on track, but notably a lot of damage still to that machine.
And speaking of damage, I do see a couple scrapes here on Matthew Baker's number 5 Coasting Thunder Chevy Camaro. Looks like on the left rear, not quite the left rear, just above the wheel. Little scratch, and then the left hood is crumpled ever so slightly. You can see some light into the engine bay there. So, again, nothing that's going to affect him. Definitely not as bad as Garrett, but he certainly can't just sit back because, in a sense, while I know Garrett would, of course, obviously rather not have been in that wreck, Garrett's only got one way to go now, and it's to the front, and he's only going to be able to be aggressive from here. He still does not have his rear bumper, kind of furthering that damage you noted there, and we'll see as he's able to get more of this repaired here over the course of the stage break, and if we get a couple more cautions, how it fares out. But for now, he just needs to try to stick with the draft. We'll see if he can do it as they start to work their way off of turn number 4 here. Lights off on the pace car, so it should be pulling off this time. That means we will be going back to green flag racing. It'll be 10 laps complete when they cross the stripe, and that means that we are going to have 21 laps to go to decide your stage winner, and that's close to the fuel window. We'll note that here in just a moment. Green flag back in the air for Trevor Oswinoff as he gets a good start behind, though. No help just yet. Outside, more of the same And it's a race right now between Dustin Carruthers and JR Miller to the back bumper. Who's going to get it first? No teammates, at least not linked up right now within the top 4. Matthew Baker in 5th, Roland on the bottom. John Ward up top, 3rd on the outside. Mark Matt there as well. Ward, by the way, first race, well, not first race, but newly moving over to a Toyota Supra for the 92, so we'll see how that fares out for him. Everybody else, uniform 2x2 formation still, as Stamper is going to drop out of the pack further back with Ken McCullough Jr. as well. Everybody right now still trying to mind their P's and Q's as they climb the 30-degree banking into turn 3. And now it's Osmanoff getting a push from J.R. Miller. He will take the lead through 3 and 4.
Oh, watch that left rear quarter panel if you're J.R. Miller. That was awfully close there on the exit 3 and 4 as a textbook offset push. Luckily, J.R. able to stay off of him. We're all good through the trial. And man, Jeff Merck powers back to the outside. He's got Dustin Carruthers on and making an appearance tonight. And they've got John Ward now. Dylan Jones, Logan York have joined the party as well. A couple more cars further back. The newcomer, Mitch Regattas, how about him? He's up inside about the top 12 now. He's in 11th position, and he looks to get racy here. He's got Chris McCullough behind him. And, well, Chris shows him, hey, welcome to the series, and jumps out 3 wide against the safer barrier. But Mitch Regattas off to a pretty good start back there, about 7th on the outside.
Yeah, and I'm glad you cleared that up, Dawson, because I'm sitting here looking, and I was about to say, why do we have 2 Zach Ranges in the field? You see the same exact paint scheme. At least that's what's showing up for me for some reason on Trading Paints, 2043 cars. Nonetheless, though, Mitch Regattas is doing a phenomenal job here early. Look to see what he can do the rest of the way. That is, by the way, Zach Range running on his inside. The 89 of Trevor Osmanoff leads, though, as he jumps to the outside. That gives some breathing room to the 78 of J.R. Miller, now leading the inside with a push here from Matthew Baker. But notice all those damaged cars and guys that got stuck behind those damaged cars, leading to a lot of separation and a long single file line here from this lead pack the rest of the way back. And I think kind of the biggest note from this, Dawson, is that Garrett Maines wondered how would he be able to keep up. Not very well. Him and Jason Maines both with significant damage. In fact, Jason doesn't even have a hood. You see right now they are back in what is kind of developed as this 3rd pack, and they're going to need a caution. They're going to need it soon.
Well, there is a welcome stage caution coming in about 8 laps from now, conclusion to lap number 20. So that's going to be the saving grace for Garrett. The problem is, if that's the length of his car being repaired, I mean, he's not going to be able to hold the draft all night. We have a 40-lap run after that. He needs to get more repaired if that's the case. If not, going to be a long night ahead here for Garrett Maines. Going to have some calamity happen to mainly the 5 car, but really all the guys in front of him, so he can gain some spots up front. How about J.R. Miller? He jumps out here in front of Trevin Osmanoff in front of Jeff Merck up on the outside. It's Osmanoff on the bottom, and Matthew Baker, that's not what Garrett wants to see, as Baker's up to 2nd on the inside now, coasting Thunder Chevrolet in good position for stage points.
Ooh, man, he bumped the apron there, Matthew Baker. I know that made his heart probably skip a beat, but holds on to it, no harm, no foul, and I'm glad you cleared up the stage because, yeah, it took a week off, and pre-race notes that I had, I was incorrect. It is not lap 30, it's at lap 20, so that kind of ramps up the intensity even more now, as that's only going to be 6 laps away when they cross the stripe next time. Again, should be at the end of lap 20, we believe, and everybody's also good to go on fuel, so it's all out brawl from here, but still 2x2. Osmanoff well in control, but you can see those lanes have swapped up a little bit. Miller on the outside with now Matthew Baker leading the inside. John Ward pushing on the inside as well. How long before we get that 3rd lane? Looks like Christopher McCullough's taking a peek. There they go. Logan York will follow. Who else decides to go? 3 wide into turn 3.
Oh, man, the pushes are getting a little bit more desperate up front. J.R. Miller and John Ward both hit their guys in front of him with a little bit. He don't even push. Chris McCullough, that's not going to work. He and Mark Matt down to the inside. And I don't know if the caution's going to come out here. They're off the racing surface.
Yeah, they are trying to find him here. Christopher McCullough down into the grass, and there is, Tony Cox.
More trouble.
What in the world happened there? That looked like a huge hit off the outside safer barrier there for Tony Cox. Left side's pretty beat up as well. So caution will come out. Stage should not be official yet, I don't believe here. I think we'll still be able to get this thing restarted in time for a quick shootout, but you see the wheels shaking there. And it's not a good sign here for Tony Cox, as he's got, again, some major damage. Looking to see just how bad, if suspension-wise, it's there, but he is able to roll away. That's going to be a big break for those guys. You see just catching him, Garrett Maines, Andrew Navarro, Jason Maines. They'll go get some more repairs, but what happened here was kind of a mess all the way through, and it started kind of with the 3 wide as soon as they got off of turn number 4 here, and just not really enough room. These guys all have their elbows out. Well, it actually starts with J.R. Miller. he tried to make the move, and it just maybe, again, Dawson, just a little bit late. It's not that it's a bad move, and, technically to a degree he gets there. The problem is that with, making that move and being that late, the run behind you is just so huge that Christopher McCullough, he's trying to check up, but as a result, he's going to get down the track a little bit. Merck Math already 2x2, so that 3 wide doesn't give them much room to work with either way. And once Chris gets down the track, he's going to get into the 60 and the 199. Mark Math, and they both go for a ride through the dirt. And, it says Mark Math comes back up, and he totals Tony Cox. I'm going to have to watch that back from a cockpit view, but that's one of those ones where you got to keep it down in the grass here. It went from potentially a save for both cars to torn up race cars for one of them, and an innocent bystander in Tony Cox, who really shouldn't have even been involved in this. Looked like he was going to get around it for sure, but this is the onboard view here for Christopher McCullough. First off, to show you exactly when you get that checkup, there's really not that many options, and here you go, coming off turn 4, sees it, and checks up. He actually gets out of the gas too, but that's right in that spot that the car gets a little unset, a little unstable. And as it unloads, just comes right around there as Christopher McCullough got out of the gas. And then there's that secondary impact, which only collected 2 more, but of course was on the racing surface and was a lot more present in terms of significance than the wreck that happened just prior. But overall, Dawson, only 3 cars involved, but 2 of them really torn up. I know we got to get an onboard view here from Mark Math, but what did it look like for you?
Well, to start, J.R. Miller, I think he just got out of shape, trying to maybe back off of Jeff Merck when he was trying to push him. It was offset already. I said the pushing was getting desperate. I think he backed out of it, and as he tried to back out of it, the car washes up. Obviously, Chris, there's nowhere for him to go. He has to lift, and as he tries to lift and set with J.R. Miller, they all come together. But then Mark Math, I'm not sure. I thought he was going to drive it down pit road. That's kind of why I keyed back off of him, went back to the front, thought the caution was going to stay underneath the flag stand, but he just drives it straight back up on track, and he's trying to recover the car, comes right back up and collects an innocent Tony Cox, who I figure he thought he had it missed, but man, Mark Math comes right back across. That's a really tough break for Tony Cox, who needed a good run tonight, just outside the playoff picture currently.
Yeah, and I can understand the not going down the pit road to a degree. We've been there before. You know that you're going to get a black flag that gives you an EOL no matter if the admin's cleared or not. It's still going to send you to the back. So I feel like I understand that decision, and we saw the onboard, and nothing he's doing wrong. He's recovering the car. He's out of the throttle. He's turning it. I just think that he misjudged how straight the car was going to be once he got back on track, and it seemed like last second he kind of realized, but it's just too late. The momentum's working up the racetrack once it gets back on it, and it's not just going to turn on a dime. So just in, future learning lesson there for Mark Math, as he's got a pretty torn up race car from it, along with Tony Cox there, is just you got to drive it further down, either get out of the throttle more or turn the wheel more to the left. But, again, trying to maybe miss that pit road exit, whatever the deal was, that's a really, really tough break for Tony Cox. Again, that one was a blindside hit, and there's nothing you can do there. He's on the bottom, thinking he's got this thing missed, probably getting ready to set himself up for how he's going to win the stage, and instead he ends up with a hood flying off and a whole lot of damage on his Chevy Camaro. Take one more look at it here from the starter cam. Actually, we'll go back to the TV, a little bit of a wider view cam here for it. This was from TV2, and watch where Mark Math goes off. At this point, Tony Cox is going to shoot by him, but then 199 taking the shorter way around as everybody else is checking up, and they meet back. And you saw that did damage the left front suspension, so that will be terminal for Tony Cox. All right, back live as we get ready for the restart. Matthew Baker up front, Trevor Osmond second, J.R. Miller in third, Justin Carruthers back and fourth with David Sheets rounding out your top 5. Dawson's going to be a 2-lap shootout, but we've already seen some carnage early. What's the risk versus reward here? Do you go for it, or do you maybe just let everybody else go for it here? How do you go about it?
Well, there's certain guys that need to go for it and certain guys that I think could get away with not going for it. For example, Matthew Baker in the regular season standings, he needs to go for it, I think. He needs to maximize his points and extend his lead over Garrett Maines just a little bit more. Some other guys that could benefit from going for it, guys like Trevor Osmond. He's 11th in points right now. He's well ahead of the cut line, but hey, he can never use enough points. David Sheets is 7 points back of the cut line. He could use the points as well. And a couple of other guys kind of lurking here that are right around that cut line that could seriously use some points in terms of the championship battle as we get closer to the playoffs.
Absolutely. Taking a look at a couple of the other driver cams there. We'll still get through them all before this thing's all said and done. William Schwindenhammer, don't count him out. He's got a top 10 run going now. Talk about the season he's had up to this point. And the driver out of Colorado Springs. We'll see what he can do right here. Going to be rolling off again from the 9th spot for this restart. All right, here we go. Going to be a 2-lap shootout to decide at any caution from this point on. Stage will be official. Green flag back in the air at Daytona.
Matthew Baker, great restart now. He's going to start to kind of control these 2 lines. He really could use the extra points from a stage win here. It would extend his points lead or get him back into a nice points lead over Garrett Maines. Garrett gained a lot of points back on Baker in Atlanta after Baker had some technical issues in the middle of that race. So Baker obviously would like to re-extend that points gap, and now he's going to start having a block maybe a little bit, but not going to have a chance. Here comes Osborne, here comes Sheets, and Jeff Burke's going to swing it out wide. Logan York says, no, sirree, you're going to the back. Logan York fills the gap, and Jeff Merck is going the wrong way in a hurry. It's Osborne for KSR that leads into 3.
Well, that works out for York now, but he may have lost a friend for later. We'll have to see. Nonetheless, though, it is all who can push the hardest from here, because it's going to be 1 lap to go, just a short shoot before it will be official for the stage. And sure enough, Oswald will take the white flag here in stage number 1. Matthew Baker on the bottom still, getting a push from J.R. Miller. Dustin Carruthers third on the inside. Everybody's starting to fishtail now. They are going to stay 2 by 2. I don't think the third lane has enough time unless they get going right now. Looks like one of the 043 cars, I think it's Zach Range, trying to get something going on the outside, but no help just yet. Still 2 by 2 up front off of 2.
Oh, man, the push coming to the outside. Osborne will nose back in front as they head for 3. It's going to be a matter of, can anybody get a run 3 wide, or will it be the 2 up front? Osborne clear to the bottom. He goes low, but oh, man, how good a move was that? Here comes the outside. David Sheets. It's going to be huge points for the 06 drag race all the way home in stage number 1. Oh, this is going to come right down to it, all the way to the line. Who's going to win the stage? York takes a look. Osborne wins stage 1.
Boy, that was... I'll tell you what, that's certainly some good insight into what we're going to see later. What a finish, but there you go. Trevor Osborne, he was the leader on the last lap of the stage and able to hold on. Not something we see too often at Daytona, and you saw a lot of blocking and, boy, a couple of really, really close calls, but right there at the line, that is your margin of victory as we took a quick look back at it. Just short of a car length for Trevor Osborne, thanks to the assist from Matthew Baker. So Trevor Osborne going to be your stage 1, and, of course, the only stage of the race winner. 21 of 60 laps complete. Going to be probably closer to 25 complete when we get the restart. And now you set yourself up for a longer stint. And the one that ultimately, of course, leads towards the end of the race is, well, seem to have had a brief internet hiccup here. And so we are back. Apologize for that. But nonetheless, as they will all bring it around for pit stops here in just about a lap or so, that'll give us a chance to take a quick break, but we will be right back. Going to go side by side. Stay with us on PGR eSports. We'll be right back at Daytona.
green flag is in the air. We are racing.
3 by 3.
Almost no trouble. Around goes Alex Hill. Hard into the outside wall goes Hill. They're wrecking big time out back. We're not going to throw a caution.
To the finish. Who gets it at the line? Cody Nagels wins it in Talladega.
Welcome back to Daytona International Speedway for Tuesday Night Thunder, race number 9. Stage 1 complete. Stage winner Trevor Osbornoff. He is not currently one of the PGR channels, but another one of the drivers who's got a lot on the line and finished pretty darn good himself in that stage and that is Matthew Baker. See if we can get a quick word with him here. Hey Baker, this is Austin and Dawson up in the booth. Got a copy?
What's up, bud?
All right, well, stage 1's complete. You did a pretty good job there. You were able to push Trevor Osbornoff to the stage win. But now the real challenge sets ahead, looking to see if you can capture what I believe would be your 3rd win on the season. Still in a tight battle with Garrett Maines, but with him kind of almost being out of this race to a degree with the damage, how do you take advantage of that here and capitalize?
That was my thought there at the stage. Was I just need to sorry, I'm getting my pit box, just to try and be as smooth as possible, not go up and block, and just take the points that I'm gonna get. So I think same thing is gonna happen here. I'm just gonna try and ride towards the back, get to the pit stop, and then capitalize from there and try and get the win.
I was going to say, you said you weren't going to block for the stage. If it's a win, does that change the mindset a little bit, or do you still keep it conservative here tonight?
Wins playoff points, so I'm definitely going to go for the win. I'd love to get Mike a win, but he took some damage early, but I'll be going for the win, if not trying to push Merck to another Daytona win.
Sounds good. Well, we appreciate you talking to us. Congrats on the good finish in stage 1. Good luck the rest of the way.
Thanks, bro.
All right, there you go. Well, Dawson, he's feeling pretty good early, and I think I agree with that strategy, and that's one thing that I feel like, maybe I kind of forget being up here in the booth, and certainly something that you don't forget as a driver is, as much as you want to win that regular season championship, and, this is certainly a way to help, of course, with that, but Baker said it, playoff points. And that's a big deal because we know with the format for Tuesday Night Thunder, the further you go in the playoffs, the more money you make. And so with that in mind, you got to try to get yourself as much of a advantage or a boost going into the playoffs as you can.
Oh, absolutely. And Baker, a former champion of the series, he knows that. He knows this system by now. So a smart strategy to say, the regular season championship's cool and all, and he definitely wants to continue to win that, but he's also looking more forward than that. He's looking further into the playoffs. He's looking at the end of the season championship as well as the one that comes up in a few weeks. So smart words from Baker, and no surprise. I mean, Baker's always going to try to go win races, so he's going to go do so again tonight.
Absolutely. Well, here we go. Field working their way off turn number 4. This will be the last official restart of the race in terms of scheduled one, I guess I should say. Of course, if we get a caution, that changes things, but it's going to be 36 laps to go as we see the green flag in the air for the final stage here at Daytona. And it's Zach Rain, Sean Corbett, the two drivers across the stripe first. Ooh, John Ward with a little bit of a missed shift right there. That's going to back up the outside ever so slightly. No harm, no foul there, though, as they're going to get it back organized. That's Matt Lee working his way out of the pits after getting some more damage repaired there while we were under caution. Zach Range on the inside still leading, but tell you what, Justin Mills, first time working his way to the front here tonight. He's got a big run. Will he try to jump to the outside? For now, he's content. Stick behind the 043. Outside, try to get it grouped back up. They should have a run. Going into turn 3, nothing yet. Corbett and Ward linked up, but they just cannot get enough momentum to go forward. And just as I say that, looks like Justin Mills, Zach Range start to get separated, and so now the outside starts to roll off turn 4.
Yeah, they need a little bit more help. They need Osmonaut, Sheets, Merck, and Mondell to get closer, but Range is going to help them out for them. He's going to jump out there in front of Sean Corbett. Front of the field, very different than it just was at the end of the stage. Mills, Range, Corbett, Triscaro, Ward, Carruthers, Regatta, Schwindenhammer all up at the front now. These were not players that were at the front earlier in the race. These are guys that have flipped the pit strategy on its head, may have done a little bit different things on the pit stop, and gotten their way to the front when it matters. And I'll tell you who's going to go right to the front, and that's going to be Michael Triscaro. Here comes the PGR owner to the front at Daytona. He'll go around Justin Mills and lead the field into turn number 3.
Didn't Matthew Baker say he was going to kind of be conservative here at the start? Well, he was going 3 wide just about half a lap ago, trying to get to the front. He's working with Logan York and a couple others, and I think his form of conservative is probably my form of aggression, but he knows how to do it with the best of them, and right now proven exactly why. 3 wide, looking to make a move. Oh, and Sheets almost get together as Sheets bobbled up the track just a little bit there into the triangle, and now Baker will back it down a little bit. He tucks back down in line. I think he might have just looked back up the scoring pylon and saw that there's still 34 laps left. Realizes that he doesn't want to end his race just yet.
Well, and still at least 1 pit stop, probably 2 still to go if this race stays green. So no surprise, Baker just thinks better of it. Okay, may have gotten lost in the aggression there a little bit early, especially with a guy like Logan York, who's going to arguably go with you every time you go out there. Now he just kind of settles back in and says, all right, let's ride here. Let's, forget about that. We tried it once. It didn't work. Let's hang out at least until that first pit stop. Then maybe you can start to make up some ground. That's probably the smarter strategy. He'll stick in about 5th in line on the outside. Not too shabby at all. With 32 laps to go, he's in a really good spot. In a better spot, though, Michael Triscaro's kind of taking control of this race up front.
Yeah, he certainly has. Baker going to duck out 3 wide. Ooh, the 17. I believe that's William Schwindenhammer. Sure enough, it is. He gave it a couple of thoughts. He's got to make up his mind here pretty quick. Looks like the 17. He'll have one more run. If he's going to go, he's got to go now. He will not. 17 stays stuck to the middle. That leaves room for the 5 of Matthew Baker to try to make some momentum up on the outside. Now Range is going to look up to the 3rd. Ooh, I don't know, Dawson. That is usually not a very good move to make if you're leading one of those 2 bottom lines. And, oh, man, all that's going to do is break it up completely. Matthew Baker now in a bad spot as he may go all the way to the back. Oh, we got 2 around. It's the 043. And who else? Couldn't tell who else it was. It was Mitch Regatas. And who else, though? Saw one more spin. That may have been it. No caution. We stay green here as, multiple involved here up front now. As I don't know if this was part of that incident or what, but we have got multiple cars off the pace.
It was right in that 3 wide area with Matthew Baker. Regatas got into Schwindenhammer and got sideways, and it split the field up. It made everybody kind of check up in that middle group, now led by David Sheets, and it just kind of caused a chain reaction that worked its way back. Now that second group's going to be able to hang on to the draft, I would assume, but a tough break for them right now. They're going to have to dig out of this hole and get right back up to the field. A tough break there for Regatas and the field behind him.
Oh, and I can see exactly what happened, Dawson. This is just one of those things we talked about. Regatta is still one of the newer drivers in the series, and this is just a little bit of a rookie mistake here that it catches me sometimes too. Look at this. Taps the apron, and when he does so, he turns the wheel back to the right. You can't do that in these cars because you know that as soon as those front tires catch, if the splitter's bumping the apron, it's going to send that car up the track a lot faster than normally would go, and that looks like exactly what happened there as you saw the front end hits the apron. Watch his hands here. In fact, we'll go to the cockpit view. And as soon as he gets on the apron here, he thinks that, maybe the car's getting ready to spin out. He's trying to correct it, but it's just the splitter. And so as he does so, when he turns it to the right, splitter catches, bottoms out, and goes straight up the track. Even as he's turning it left, it's just not even close to enough. And gets right into the 17 of Schwindenhammer and send around. Did Schwindenhammer save it? Yeah, I think he did. That was a phenomenal job by Schwindenhammer. Or excuse me, that wasn't. Yes, it was. The 17. And did he save it here? Yes. Boy, what a save by William Schwindenhammer. Saw a couple others get into the wall, and the 043 didn't take any damage, Dawson, but he's certainly going to need a caution now to catch back up.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's pretty much a death blow without a caution, is spinning and losing the pack like that. So we'll see if he can catch a break. Again, just a tough break, but like you said, kind of one of those rookie deals that catches you when you're in the corner. Man, big run as Merck and York got back to the field, and they go all the way to the safety barrier. They swing it out wide, and now all of a sudden we're back to 3 wide. Justin Mills loving all of that as he goes back to the lead. Merck and York took it up there. They're going to need a little bit of help, though. They're stalling out up against the outside wall, and no help coming. They'll have to fade right back in line.
Looking at the track map, there's still quite a few guys that are not tagged onto this lead pack, so that means there's quite a few of them, maybe even a handful of them, that are hoping that we see at least one more caution before this thing is all said and done. But the other thing that we got to account for that we could potentially see here in this second stage is at least one. Not sure if we would quite get a chance to see 2. No, I don't think we'd quite see 2, but definitely that one green flag stop. Actually, we might see 2. You figure 40%. These guys could go 20 about on half a tank. Figure, I don't know, 16 to 18 laps. That's going to be pretty close, Dawson. It may be a two-stopper. Nonetheless, we will see at least one green flag pit stop if they can continue to keep it green. 2x2, though, all the way through, at least to the middle portions of this lead pack. Single files out for about the last 6. And speaking of this pack, it goes all the way back right now to Kenneth Stamper in the 30, and hanging just off of it is Garrett Maines and Jason Maines. Both of those cars looking a lot better than earlier here, Dawson. But, man, they're hanging right around that 1.5 second range. I don't know if they're quite going to be able to hold on to this pack.
They're trying, though, and they're gaining some time on the leaders. They might have. It's really close right now. Now they start to lose time again, so I thought they were going to keep the pack. But Garrett has gained some spots. He's up to 20th. He just needs to keep chipping away. We'll see if he can do that the rest of the way. I'll tell you who's not making any friends up front. That was Zach Range. Not sure if you caught it, but a couple laps ago, Michael Triscaro got split. Zach Range went to the middle and split out Michael Triscaro. That's now 2 of the NBG Motorsports cars that Zach Range is kind of, actually, really all 3, I believe, after kind of knocking Matthew Baker's run out up in the outside. He split Michael Triscaro, and he also split Jeff Merck. So, man, Zach Range not making a ton of friends with the guys at NBG so far tonight in this race.
Yeah, indeed. But I'll tell you what, I don't think he's got any teammates out here tonight. And when you don't have teammates, you've got that option to kind of be a little bit more aggressive with the single moves, or the solo moves, rather, that you wouldn't make if you had guys that you were used to working with. So, as you said, Dawson, works out now, maybe helps him get to the front now, but it may hinder him and cause him to go towards the pack at the end. You got to have friends at any super speedway you go to have a chance at winning. And it seems like Michael Triscaro's got a friend in Jeff Merck and William Schwindenhammer right now, as those 3 continue to be a pretty strong trio on the outside. And I'll tell you what, we remember what this 34 looked like earlier, Dawson, after that first wreck, and that car was beat up. It's cleaned up nicely now, and in fact, this car looks like it's a pretty fast lead car, as Merck was able to push him to the lead. So I think Michael Triscaro is showing that even if, for Garrett Maines, it's not over yet. If Garrett gets all his damage fixed, and, especially right there, I think the only reason he lost the pack is because it was only 2 of them, he may still be back in this race. And Michael Triscaro, of course, being in the same exact boat. So the 34 doing a great job keeping his head down throughout the race and getting the damage repaired, getting back up here. As now John Ward settles into 2nd, Matthew Baker 3rd, and still side by side for 4th. Here we go, pit stops, first one of the night.
This one is Triscaro, Ward, Range, Mills, Corbett. That's the first 5 to pit. Garrett and Jason Maines are also going to come to pit road on this lap, this time by lap 36. Will be when they make their pit stops. The first round, almost trouble here with Dustin Carruthers. He's off the track in the lead group. He may crash. This may benefit the group that just came to pit road. They are going to crash. Mark Vondell's around, and so is Carruthers.
No, half a round, trying to save it still. Oh, my goodness. I think they did. Yeah, they did. They both are able to get it back on track. Going to lose the pack and some damage sustained. Mullahan, that car is still banged up. Not sure if he got more from this wreck. Single file. This is going to bring in more pit stops here. I'll hold my next thought, rather, until we get through this one. Here we go off of 4. Does Matthew Baker lead him in? He does not. Actually, he chooses to stay out here. He's got a teammate behind with Jeff Merck, Schwindenhammer, Christopher McCullough, Ken McCullough Jr., and Kenneth Stamper all choose to stay out as well, along with potentially a couple others. But I'll tell you what, Dawson, I felt like that move by Garrett Maines and Jason Maines to pit as soon as they did, I felt like that was a really smart decision, and it may work out here for them. I was going to say, I did kind of a similar strategy in a Little Guys Series race one time, where if you're kind of just outside drafting range, but you feel like you're good getting into pit entry, pit as soon as you can. And in this case, I think that they both felt like they were maybe a little bit better than that group ahead that was pitting. And by doing so, they were able to catch at least one of them in Sean Corbett. And they're not too far behind the Michael Triscaro group, so they could potentially catch these guys off of a little bit of a strategy play. And again, we're still waiting to see when this lead pack pits and how that's going to play out.
Yeah, if they can go about 5 more laps, you'd imagine they could make it all the way to make it a one-stop race, and this be the only pit stop. That would be a race changer. I don't think they can make it 5 more laps. There's too many laps that we have run in this run for them to go that far, so they're just stretching it as far as they can. And right now, as I'm looking at lap times, they're just not really running the same lap times that those 2 groups are, both the Triscaro Mills Range group as well as the Corbett Garrett Maines, Jason Maines group. They're not quite running as good of times right now. And that other group, those other 2 groups are catching them. So they've got to probably pit right here. I don't think I'd wait any longer. Come to pit road, salvage something, and that's exactly what they're going to do.
Yeah, that seemed like a Pretty menacing. Oh, 94 is coming in hot. Oh, Christopher McCullough. Did he get down to speed? 4 wide out back. Did Kenneth Stamper spin to 30? I couldn't tell there. I think he might have held on. Wow. Boy, that was another crazy sequence of stops. Yeah, he did.
I don't know how in the world he didn't spin or go off pit road. He kept all 4 tires on the surface somehow. I have no clue.
Well, we're using the drone cam, and I swear it made these cars look like they were coming in about 10 miles an hour faster than it normally does. And, man, what a stop for Brock Westmoreland, as it looks like he's actually going to lead these guys out of the pits. And following in suit, actually, Brock may have been coming off a penalty. I was going to say I don't remember him coming to the pits right there, so we'll go ahead and shuffle Brock to the side, and the man who actually wins the race out of the pits. All that thought, too, here, because it looks like we're going to have some more pit stops now. As the 043, I think that's Regattas, is going to bring it in here. And so, yep, sure enough, Mitch in for a stop, but still do have a couple guys out here, Dawson. Looks like it is Nash Barbilla, J.R. Miller, Mike Davenport. It was Osbornoff, McCullough, Jones, and Cox bringing it into the pits this time. And looks like they all getting clean. Good to see Tony Cox with that car cleaned up as well. Tucker McClendon still needs to bring it down. Matthew Baker and Jeff Merck, I was going to say all by themselves here, but Mills and Range with a huge run. So does Ward and Triscaro. All of a sudden, everybody trying to get grouped back together side by side with 20 laps to go. And we have got ourselves a change for the lead once this thing cycles out. And even more pit stops here as they continue to cycle through. But up front for now, it is still that PGR eSports trio that is not pit yet.
And they're losing time as well, though. They're going to probably also need to come to pit road. They're just not gaining as much time as they should be here. We'll see if they come to pit road this time. Well, this is another example. Okay, if they can make it another, I'd say at least a couple laps. It's probably more like 3. I don't know if they can go that far. If they've somehow been able to make it that far, this could be a complete change in the race. I mean, this could totally turn the race on its head if these 3 can make it the next 2 laps. We're going to be watching on pins and needles if these guys make it to 18 to go to see if perhaps they can steal this one away. Maybe they figured out some kind of way to save. They have 2 more laps to go, though. Right here, the first chance for them to come to pit road.
Let's see if they bring it down this time. Sure enough, Billa's going to peel off. And it looks like Miller and Davenport are going to do the same here, but I wouldn't rule it out just yet, Dawson. It is still mighty close here. Going to be coming to 19 to go, technically, as they complete their stop. So it'll be right at the end of that window, depending on how much they save. We'll have to watch how they run in this pack here. If they stay at the back, they get aggressive. And it still could work out, even if, they can't make it on fuel, but they stick with the leaders. And that would be in the sense of they could, of course, take a lot less fuel on that final stop. But first things first, they got to get out of the pits, and they got to hustle here. It's not looking good here. It looks like they're just now working their way out, and unfortunate news for them is that Justin Mills is roaring through the tri-oval and going probably about 80 to 100 miles an hour faster for the moment. So I think Billa and Miller might be okay. Davenport not so lucky. He is going to lose this draft here. Billa's still hustling it out. Miller trying to do the same. It is not easy to get up to speed here, especially when you have to take that apron around. You can't quite full gas it up, and there goes the field roaring by. Canberra and Billa and Miller hold on. I think they're going to be able to.
I would think that they'd be able to, yeah, if they can just grab on the back, blend quickly here going into 3 and get hooked up. It's going to be really close, though. They're losing a lot of time back there on the back end of this group. Already 9/10 back, now a second back. They got to get it going and get it going quickly because this front group is pushing the pace in a big way. John Ward is moving this line forward, trying to get as many cars out of this lane as possible. But Brambilla and Miller hanging right at a second. They've caught the draft. They're able to hold on to the lead group. Good pit stop for them against some unfortunate circumstances. Just they got caught out by themselves on the racetrack.
Yeah, and it's always interesting to me. We know that any super speedway racing we see that cars break a draft, and it almost seems like, I feel like to a degree, the Xfinity cars hold equal terms, and how far that draft goes back is like what we see in the trucks at least. But with what we saw earlier with Garrett and Jason not quite being able to hold on, I was wondering if those two would be able to, and sure enough, they did. So now that they catch back up, they tack on as the final 2 cars in this lead pack, making it a 14-car lead pack. Top 4, it's either top 4 or top 5 payout tonight, plus of course the points battle going on. So this thing still is going to get interesting yet to come, but we are still expecting 1 more green flag stop. Window opens in a couple laps, but based off what they did the first time, Dawson, I don't know if we'll see any stops until they get to probably within 10 laps to go.
I figure they'll all run the tank out here. I don't think anybody's going to try to short pit. It's been a less used strategy the last few weeks from what I've noticed across my racing that I've done. Guys just tend to like to run the tank out and kind of let things play out as they will. It'll be a short stop towards the end of the race. You won't be taking a full tank of fuel. It's going to be the advantage for many of these guys. We'll see when they pit. I agree, probably about 10 laps to go is when you'll see the first groups on pit road. Beyond that, it's going to be single digits, and I mean, it's going to be the money stop for sure. You're going to have to get on and off very, very quickly considering how fast that pit stop's going to be.
And I don't know if they might have took 2 tires on the last one, but they certainly won't be taking any on this one, I wouldn't think. And that means that it's going to be even trickier, than the last pit stop here with those more worn out tires. So we'll see.
Green flag is in the air. We are racing.
Three by three.
Almost no trouble. Around goes Alex Hill. On into the outside wall goes Hill. They're wrecking big time out back. We're not going to throw a caution. Finish. Who gets it in the line? Cody Nagels wins it in Talladega.
Back live at the World Center of Racing. Apologize for that. Seemed to have some sort of internet hiccup. But nonetheless, didn't miss too much. These guys have been staying single file so far. And up front it is John Ward in the 92, followed by Michael Triscaro in the 34. Matthew Baker is still hanging around the podium. He's in third. Jeff Merck fourth. And Logan York rounding out your top 5. It's 11 laps to go. Going to be 10 when we cross the stripe next time. And just as I was getting ready to say this was when we had the issue, so let's try it again. Want to go back and go through the field, the running order one more time before this thing comes to an end and kind of talk just briefly about what's going on. So starting first here, we got Matt Lee back in the 33rd spot. Rough night, led early, gotten involved in a wreck. John Mullihan, another one of the cars involved in that wreck. Mark Math involved in a later caution, came back up the track, collected Tony Cox. Tucker McClendon in 30th. Been a rough night for him. Mitch Regatas making his first money racing start here of the night. Currently sits in 29th. Brock Westmoreland back in 28th. David Sheets in 27th.
Sorry to cut you off. So we got pit stops at the front. John Ward, Chris McCullough, Kenny McCullough, and a host of others rounding out the last pit stop of the night.
Absolutely, and thought these guys actually had already made the last stop during the break. But nonetheless, they waited till I guess kind of what we expected, about 10 laps to go. So about the right time for it. Gives you just enough time to get back up to speed, and then about 8 laps to really race for it. So we'll see that play out most likely here. But the 03, they're going to win the race out of the pits here. But it's actually going to go to, looks like, the 94 of Christopher McCullough. And so interesting to see those two get out front. I wonder if maybe they had a little bit of a different fuel strategy, saving a little bit more. And then everybody else in a mad dash behind them to try to get up to speed as well. Zach Range, Kenneth Stamper, Brock Westmoreland, Justin Mills, William Schwindenhammer, and Jared Haynes, who didn't talk a lot about so far tonight, Dawson, but he's had an excellent season so far. Another driver who needs a great next couple of races with a chance to make a playoff berth.
Yeah, Jared Haynes having a great season, and a guy that could easily make it into the playoffs and be kind of a wild card. He's run up front. He ran up front at Atlanta as well. Had a pretty good showing there for most of that race. Led laps in that race as well. So a guy that has been very good on multiple disciplines in terms of, being good here at Daytona, being good at Talladega, but also being able to go wheel it at Atlanta. A guy that has been very dynamic all season. A guy that could really make a playoff run. Another guy that could use the run tonight. He's well above the cut line, but he's looking for victory lane. Is coming on pit road now. It's Michael Triscaro. He's going to lead his two teammates in Logan York on for their final pit stop. Let's see if they can make it happen and come back out in front.
And did a good job with it, too. Everybody got in clean. It looks like in the background, Navarro, Lee, not for position, but two cars that might tag on and help this lead pack in terms of, the greater the number, the faster you're going to go here at Daytona. But so their pit stop comes with 8 laps to go. Going to be 7 when the leaders get to the stripe next time. So it's going to be interesting to see how these guys fare out in terms of what was better, the short pit or the long pit here as they work their way out. Now we go back to Christopher McCullough, who is just now going to be working his way into the trial. But I'll tell you what, Dawson, it's going to be pretty close here. Now Navarro is trying to get in line here. He actually somehow got out before Logan York, and I don't think York was too pleased to have to let him in here, but nonetheless was able to let him do so as they continue to try to get up to speed on the flat apron. And sure enough, looks like the McCullough Motorsports group, along with John Ward, Zach Range, and Kenneth Stamper, are going to be able to tuck in that draft. They get just a little bit there off of David Sheets, and now in the draft of Matt Lee, Logan York, and multiple others, they will bring themselves right back into the mix. And all that leaves out is the same 3 that it left out the first time, or I guess I should say 2 of the 3, and that is Nash Brambilla and J.R. Miller. They're drafting here with Mark Math. And Dawson, if it's close, do you think as a driver, if you're the 23 to 78, you actually let the 199 go around here, fall behind him, and just try to save and draft to the finish?
I would, and it doesn't look like the 199 has much damage, so I would, but the fact that they're not, the fact they've been able to stay in line tells me that I don't think they believe that they can make it here. I mean, 20 laps is going to be asking a lot on a 40% tank. Again, a half tank would be about 20, 40%. Going to be well less than that. I mean, they're going to have to really stretch it. Now they have about a 30-second gap, so if they wanted to back up the pace, they can afford to lose about, let's say, 4 or 5 seconds a lap perhaps to that group that's already pit led by Christopher McCullough. They can afford to really back this pace down and lose about 5 seconds a lap and still maybe save enough to make the end of the race. This could get really interesting here with these two at the front.
It could. The problem that I'm still I don't know if I'd say it's a problem, but I'm still wondering about is you'd almost think if they thought they weren't good to make it that they would have pit by now. Knowing that they're losing time, my only other guess is that they're kind of committed, just hoping that there's going to be a caution if they feel like they're not going to make it. As you see Mark Math will peel off, so any more draft support that they did have has now gone out the window. And we'll keep an eye on the speeds, but still in the upper 170s, so even if they were saving, they are not saving much. And so it's just a question of what are they willing to risk. Dawson, you mentioned how much they can lose each lap. Don't forget that even if you don't save that much each lap and these guys just run as hard as they can to the finish, how far can they coast on that last lap when they run out and still be able to hold on to the lead? I would say if you run out with the lead, if they're able to hold around with the lead that they've got now, you could probably run out maybe right about the middle of 3 and 4 and coast to the finish, maybe a little bit sooner than that. But this gap is really starting to close up now as Jeff Merck looks like it's trimmed down to almost 26 seconds. But I don't know if we're going to make it there, Dawson, because this second pack, which is going to be for the lead, they're going at it, and we might get a caution before we make it to the white.
I'll tell you what, they backed the pace down now here at the front, and they're not losing as much as they need to be losing. This pack's not going to get to them in time at the rate that they're gaining time, I don't think. We'll watch it this time by and see how much time that they gain. But these two PGR cars have really drawn back the pace now. I mean, they are way off the throttle, trying everything they can to drag this tank home. They've lost 2 seconds on this lap. If they lose 6 seconds a lap, that pack will be catching them, coming to the checkered flag. This is going to be down to the wire. These guys are really going in on saving, trying everything they can to drag this tank out. Can they do it? Jeff Merck's 21 seconds back.
They're running now just over 160 miles an hour into turn 3, and You see it on the dashboard telemetry, bottom right, and you can hear it. Jared Miller is only running maybe about, at most, half a throttle. I mean, he is not putting that much effort into it right now. Just, again, as you said, trying to stretch it. It's going to be so close. And, again, even if they can make it, you have to ask yourself, did they save too much? Did they lose too much time? This pack out back is now 3 wide. Jeff Merck leading. These guys know this could potentially in of itself be the battle for the win. And again, if we get a caution, Dawson, that would set it up to be interesting as well. 3 wide. I don't know which battle to keep an eye on right now.
All the PGR boys up front have some help. A teammate now, a lap car. Brock Westmoreland's in front of them. It's going to allow Nash Brambilla not only to draft and pick that speed back up, but also save a little bit of gas. This is going to be as down to the wire gets. If these guys start hitting the lap pedal, that second group's just not going to be able to catch them. The bottom is they have to start going. It's already down to about 10 seconds. If this group behind them, if they get in draft range, they'll be there. But, I mean, it's going to be probably another lap before they can even do that, and that'll be coming to the white flag.
Oh, man, they're losing a lot of time. I'm telling you what, though, Dawson, I'm nervous about what happens when this pack gets there. I think they're going to get there, and when they do, man, with the way they're racing now, oh, my goodness, if we make it to the white, oh, my goodness. Christopher McCullough almost went around there. He got into the door of Triscaro after Merck doing all he can to block. Now the 60 is going to go back down to the bottom. The 94 up top, going back up to the front group here. They are getting a pull off of their teammate. Still saving heavily. Looking at the dashboard telemetry, 173. They've started to pick it back up here, Dawson. I think they realize they have to. 5-second gap. They really can't afford to let them get a drafting range, at least not until we get probably a quarter of the way through this last lap. This is going to come all the way down to the wire. Fuel saving versus aggression. Which strategy is going to win it tonight?
Oh, and it's going to be so interesting because this group's going to get them as they're saving fuel. And they vie out. They go to pit road and come into the white flag. It's going to be the battle for the win behind them. White flag coming to the line.
White flag in the air. 1 lap to go at the World Center of Racing. Jeff Merck looking to see if he can pull off a win here tonight. Michael Triscaro with a push from Mills out back. Here comes Christopher McCullough and Matthew Baker into turn 1 on the outside.
McCullough battle elbow to elbow. Triscaro's going to give everything he can on the back bumper of his teammate. John Ward is peeking. Does Logan York look with him? He does for a moment. Now he's going to go up there. 3 wide. Bottom line's got the cars. Does Triscaro perhaps get a look? No. Merck jumps back up. And now as they head for 3, it'll be a drag race. Who wants it more? Ward top. Merck middle. Triscaro bottom.
Help is saying it's going to go to the bottom or middle. Can they get a third car up top? Doesn't look like it. Merck and Triscaro on the bottom right of your screen. Off a turn 4. Merck wiggles. Now he gets another push. Triscaro on the bottom. They're wrecking big out back. Who's going to get to the line first? Matthew Baker pulls it out. He comes across the line sideways, but somehow wins it at Daytona in a wreck-filled finish. He captures his 3rd win of the season. Well, he said he was going to go for the win, Dawson, but I don't think that's quite the way he expected to get it. Nonetheless, what a finish.
What a finish indeed. The biggest night that he needed because Garrett Maines actually recovered to finish 14th. Baker gets everything he can in the form of playoff points, in the form of stage points. Man, you can't say enough. You can't say enough. Also, Jared Haynes, where did he come from? He finishes 3rd. That's the run he needed as well. But it's heartbreak again for Michael Triscaro, who led up until the final 100 feet.
Absolutely, man. It just seems like it goes that way, too, at these super speedways. But, boy, he ran a phenomenal race, came back from the damage. And the good news for Mike is that he still was able to hold on to a podium. But, boy, I know he's going to be saying that it should have been a win. And it certainly looked that way there when they came off of 4. He had the lead. The middle wiggled. Thought he had it, but unfortunately came up just ever so short. So let's go back and take a look at this finish. And, man, as you said, Dawson, heartbreak for the PGR teammates. I thought they had it. That would have been, I think, probably the strategy play of the year, or the season rather, if they could have pulled that off. Came so close, but just not quite enough. All right, here we go. Go to the blimp cam here. So we're going to go to the chopper view first off. This was off of turn 4, and see how the contact starts and how it kind of evolves here. Merck gets a little bit of a wiggle there off of 4 as Christopher McCullough's pushing him for all he's worth, and then the 94 works his way up the track, and it's just a lot of pushing. The 94 kind of gets out of shape again, gets down into Mills. That sends Mills up into the 60 of Merck. Merck gets down into Michael Triscaro. Triscaro, I thought, actually was going to hold on to this thing. With the way everybody was spinning out back, I thought he was actually going to come across the line first, but you saw that Baker able to keep it a little bit straighter, just a little bit longer, and kind of gets pushed across the line sideways there by Ken McCullough Jr. And I know we see a lot of wrecks come to the finish, Dawson, but not one that looked quite like that. That was certainly an odd-looking one with everybody wrecking actually at the line. And here's one more view of it as Triscaro is going to get turned and trying to save it. Here goes Matthew Baker on the bottom. Let's see just how close it was here. You see Triscaro actually got some airtime. And then Ken McCullough Jr., boy, I'll tell you what, if the 5 slides up or down, Ken McCullough Jr. wins his first race of the season right there, but just did not quite pan out that way. Nonetheless, what a finish it was. And there you see the margin of victory for Matthew Baker. We'll call it by, instead of half a car length, half a car width, as he was sideways when he got the job done. Before we bring your top 3 in here for interviews, let's take a look at your finishing results here on the night. Again, taking the win. 3rd one of the season is Matthew Baker. Ken McCullough Jr. finishes in 2nd. Jared Haynes in 3rd. Michael Triscaro 4th. Christopher McCullough in 5th with Jeff Merck in 6th. Logan York back in 7th. John Ward 8th. Kenneth Stamper in 9th. And Justin Mills rounding out your top 10.
Zach Range finishes 11th. William Schwindenhammer 12th. Dylan Jones 13th. Garrett Maines 14th. And Trevor Osbornoth in 15th. Josh McCullough finishes 16th. Sean Corbett 17th. Mike Davenport 18th. Jason Maines 19th. And Dustin Carruthers rounds out the top 20.
Nashville Billa finishes 21st. J.R. Miller 22nd. Joey Galati in 23rd. Tony Cox 24th. Mark Vondell back in 25th with Andrew Navarro in 26th. David Sheets 27th. Brock Westphal in 28th. Tucker McClendon in 29th, and Mark Math rounding out your top 30. Mitch Regatas finishes 31st. Matt Lee in 32nd. John Mullahan rounding out the field tonight. He finishes in 33rd. All right, we're going to go see if we can find your top 3 for interviews. Stick with us. We'll be right back at Daytona. Welcome back to Daytona International Speedway. Going to start first here tonight with your 3rd place finisher. We initially thought that it was Michael Triscaro, but as Dawson pointed out, and sure enough, it was actually Jared Haynes who snuck through that last wreck, got through it clean, and he brings home a podium tonight. So here we go, Jared. This is Austin up in the booth. You got a copy?
Yes, sir, I do.
Well, we were talking about you at the good, man. We were talking about you at the tip of the broadcast a little bit of the way through of what a season it's been so far. You needed a good run here tonight, the next couple races, and boy, you executed perfectly. You bring home a podium here tonight. First of all, how did you maintain that track position throughout the race, and how'd you make it through that last wreck at the end?
So my decision coming into tonight was just hanging out at the back and making sure to keep my car as clean as possible for the end. And dude, once we got up into like the last 10, I knew that there was going to be a wreck somewhere. So I just went down to the bottom and prayed.
Well, it seems like the prayer may have been answered with the finish that you captured here tonight. And, you know, now that you got the podium here, we're kind of heading down the stretch for the regular season. How are you going to carry this momentum forward into next week?
I'm hoping to. I mean, I've been getting better every week. Just had some bad luck in the past few races, so I'm hoping that streak is done and I can actually hang in there up top.
Absolutely. Certainly hung in there tonight. Well, before we let you head out to celebrate, is there anyone you'd like to thank or shout out?
Yeah, my wife, Alina, for letting me do all these races. My crew chief, Scotty, he does a great job every week. Let me know what's going on up in front of me and car-wise. And for y'all for putting on a great broadcast every week. It's awesome. Appreciate y'all.
Thank you, of course, for talking to us again. Congrats on the 3rd place finish, and we'll see you next week.
Appreciate it. Y'all have a good one.
You as well. All right. Well, still looking for 2nd place finisher here, Ken McCullough Jr. So we're going to see if we can get him. Give us just a moment. We will be right back at Daytona. All right, now that leads us to your second place finisher on the night, Ken McCullough Jr. Ken, this is Austin in the booth. You got a copy.
I got you.
Well, you bring home second. You lost it by, normally we'd say half a car length. Looked more like half a car width. You push Matthew Baker T-bone style to the win, but nonetheless, a great finish here tonight. How'd you feel about it overall? And had some adversity that you had to overcome early, and you still managed to get through it.
I was trying to help Chris stay up there. He had some damage. I didn't expect to even place in the money there. I was just trying to help Chris in that line, and carnage happened there like it usually does on these last laps, and I got lucky.
Certainly did. Sometimes you got to have luck, but sometimes it's luck that leads to, the good finishes that continue to rack up. And now that you've got some momentum going your way, we head down the stretch. Do you feel like that first win is maybe in sight next week?
Yeah, I hope so, man. I'd love to get a win over here for sure. Not more that I'd like to get one in PGR, though, for damn sure.
Absolutely. 2 of the Crown Jewels series, and a good run here tonight. Going to lead some momentum into not just next Tuesday, but also this Thursday. Before we let you head out tonight to celebrate your second place winnings, is there anyone you'd like to thank or shout out?
Yeah, thank you for doing the broadcast, man. You do an awesome job. Thank them teammates out there, and thank Ron for putting this thing on every week.
Thank you, of course, for talking to us. Again, congrats on the second place finish, and we'll see you out here next week.
Thank you, brother.
All right, and now that will lead us to your winner here tonight, Matthew Baker. Dawson Wise stands by with him.
Yeah, hey, Baker, it's Dawson in the booth. You get a copy? Well, man, crazy run to the end there. You're running 5th or 6th on that last lap. You end up coming away with a victory. Kind of have it fall in your lap at the end there. 3rd in the stage and a win. Is that just kind of the season you're having? Is this kind of just where the luck's been this year, having wins fall in your lap? It just seems like the good things keep on coming for this 5 group.
It's definitely luck on this race. Mike really ran a great race, and I feel for him. I thought he was going to get his win. We talked about it there at the end, and I really wanted him to get that win. So I'm frustrated for him. I'm glad I got my 3rd win on the season. A little bit closer to the season regular season championship, but I really feel for Mike and Merck. They both running up front there.
Well, yeah, definitely a tough break for your 2 teammates there, but nonetheless, back in victory lane, you were already the only guy to win more than once. Now the only guy to win 3 times on the year. You extend your points lead over Garrett Maines. What can we expect for the weeks to come as we get closer to the playoffs?
Just keep my car as close as I can to Garrett. If he gets any bonus points, try and capitalize, and also counter with bonus points. That's what I tried to do at the stage there. The wreck early with him really helped. It felt bad, but last week I had a terrible Atlanta race, let him catch back up in points. So it's nice to gap him a little bit, probably about a 14 or 16 point gap that I'm going to have now. So it's nice for sure. But I think these next 2 races, just approach it as one. I want Mikey to get a win really bad. It seems like his car is in the position every single time, and he keeps getting taken out. Merck got a loose in front of Chris, and I'm fully out of the throttle, almost on the brakes, trying to stay out of Chris, and he goes down into Mills, turns everyone else. But I don't think I've ever had a finish sideways like that, so I definitely take it. That was a lot of fun. Good race in the Xfinity car. Nice to put the SummerSlam 499 Coasting Thunder Chevrolet in victory lane.
Well, it's a fun one to watch, a chaotic one there at the end. Before we let you go and celebrate your 3rd victory of the season, is there anybody you'd like to thank or shout out?
Yeah, just thanks to you guys for putting on the broadcast. Coasting Thunder, MVG Motorsports, Bakerson Construction, Martin Sports. Thanks to Mike, with PGR. Really excited for the SummerSlam 499 we got coming up in July. Going to get the info out here soon by at least the end of the month, and that's going to be a crown jewel for sure. Hopefully it becomes one of the crown jewels this year in iRacing for money racing. So really excited, and thanks to the family watching back at home, and thanks to Ron for putting on the races. This is the best series. To have 3 wins in the regular season, I could only muster up 1 win per regular season. That's how tough this competition is. So to have 3 is pretty surreal. I love this Xfinity car, and it's a ton of fun to drive. Really excited for Talladega next week.
Well, we're excited as well. Excited to see you continue on your incredible season. 3 wins for you this season. Go enjoy it. Go celebrate. We will talk to you soon.
All right, and that is going to wrap up our coverage here tonight. Before we do head out, though, I mean, man, what a race it was. Clean overall. Of course, you had the last lap chaos there with a little bit of fuel mileage just before we took the white flag, and then, of course, the wreck coming to the checkered flag. All characteristics of what you see sometimes at these super speedways. But nonetheless, Matthew Baker said it. I mean, for a series so competitive, for him to come out with 3 wins, I don't care who you are, a pro, not a pro, Matthew Baker is pretty much a pro himself. To get that in this series is impressive in and of itself. He's done a phenomenal job. What a great series, and can't wait to see what we're in for next week.
Yeah, he's having a dream season on top of the standings. Now the only guy with multiple wins, and now he's got 3 of them. He's having about the best season that I've ever seen someone have in this kind of series, and he's continuing on the momentum. And tonight he gets a little bit of luck as well. And sometimes, like we like to say, it's better to be lucky than good. And look, Matthew Baker was right there. You do feel for his teammates. Obviously thought they were in a winning position, but unfortunately, that's kind of how these races end sometimes. This series, man, just continues to get better. I can't wait for Talladega as the playoff battle's really shaping up now.
Absolutely. All right, well, that'll do it tonight. For me, Austin Green, and Dawson Wise here on PGR eSports, thank you all so much for tuning in. As always, we hope that you enjoyed. We will be back on either Thursday or next Tuesday. Of course, I'll be back Thursday. Dawson, we know, will be back next Tuesday. So until next time, have a good night.